Hi guys, I'm the Deafness Article. I'm continuing from my previous training video, recording six tables of 25 on Natural8. Hope you enjoyed the last part. Check it out if you haven't watched it already. And straight into the action, fairly standard, well, extremely standard open with ace-jack suited on the button. If you're folding pre in this situation, you have something seriously wrong with your game. I'm just deciding whether to call or jam with ace-jack against the 3-bet. I've seen him 3-bet a number of times, so I think jamming probably works out slightly better. It's against a 40 big blind stack. This is pretty much a value jam. I do expect to get called by worse at a decent frequency. And given he's playing a number of tables, I suspect he's a short stack regular rather than just a fish. So I'm going to tag him as a short stack regular. That's unfortunate. Short stack regulars reduce everyone's EV at the table. But it will be somewhat interesting because obviously you will have short stack regs in your games too. So I'll be able to just discuss a couple of the differences he makes your play because of having short stack regs at the table. The simplest of those, or the simplest of those which I make, is that when I have a short stack reg behind me in a position where he's going to be 3-betting fairly frequently, I simply min-raise my opening range. Rather than normally I 2.5x or like I'm 2.4xing here because it's easy to scroll to. I'm going to bet check bet queen 10 here. Despite the fact I think he's a fish, I don't think I can easily get 3 streets. And the river I'm going to block bet. I never expect him to bluff raise, so I never expect to lose money against weaker hands than mine. But I think I mostly have to call if I check. And I think the fact that we either get calls from worse or have decent fold equity just kind of increases the value there of block betting over checking. Uh, 5-4. I mean, it's kind of marginal considering the cold calling fish only has about 30 big blinds, which makes it somewhat less attractive to come along with a widest range here. But 5-4 suited, I like 5-4 suited. It's a fun hand to play, and it's never going to be too minus EV. If it is minus EV, it's all to call it. Like it's going to be very fractionally plus EV or minus EV. So I think because I want to play it, I'm going to play it. Tamon, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to fold here. I mean, sometimes I'm actually ahead in this spot, but like, despite the fact he's bet so small, I have very little equity when behind. I'm basically drawing to 2-pair, and the under the gun player will have me crushed sometimes as well. I mean, when I say he will have me crushed, I mean he will sometimes have an ace or kings, both of which are just way ahead of me in this spot on the flop. 6-3 off is one of the few hands that you should be folding blind against a 3x. I mean, I suspect 6-3 suited is probably a call at 100 or a call or 3-bet at 100, but probably a fold at 25 and out due to the reg. Tens against smaller c-bet sizes, you can consider raising for value/protection at some frequency. Against this sort of larger c-bet sizing, which is naturally a bit more polarized, I don't think I want to. And 3-way, I'm actually going to fold the flop here because ranges should be very strong on this board. Yeah, no question of folding the turn with tens. River is going to be very close if he bets. I mean, in theory, on most blank rivers, it should just be a call against a bet. In practice, I suspect people might end the bluff. This is kind of interesting because I don't think he's gonna value bet queens or jacks for this sizing. So that's 12 combos all of a sudden out of the way. I think I'd call without the 10 of hearts, which blocks some of his bluff combos. It's close nevertheless. Like the only hand he has in his range which improves on that river is King Queen, and like people should value bet Queens and Jacks there simply because I have no King X in my range. I mean maybe I have Ace King sometimes. That's a decent candidate to call twice if you call pre. Something interesting will happen before too long, I'm sure. Easy fold. I'm kind of tempted to open 7-6 East under the gun, but it's a bit loose without any known fish in the blinds. And because this tight as fuck guy is playing quite a few tables, I suspect. Well, he's playing 2 tables. He might be a reg, although the short stack on this table suggests otherwise. Chin Pokemon is playing at least 3 tables and I haven't seen him do anything unreasonable yet, so I'm going to tag him as a reg. Again, I've mentioned in every single one of my videos for this stable so far, but I think it's very important to tag people quickly and update your tags as you go along, the colour tags, just because they're very useful for making quick adjustments in pre-flop decisions. And also for quickly deciding whether or not to sit or stay at a table when you might have decisions on other tables to make. I'm not going to always see that as 3-way, this Queen Jack hand, but I'm going to this time. It's probably quite loose, but I suspect people are overfolding the flop on this board. And I'm going to continue barreling this turn. Like I know, I think he might be a reg, but I think like 25-0 regs on his side are probably bad enough that the ace as a scare card logic still works well enough. I think he's going to really struggle to continue with 6s or 8s here. Just delayed C betting King Queen because we have decent equity for our flop check range. We have very little showdown value, and yeah, we normally flop check back ranges tend to be quite weak. The river's bad because basically a lot of his turn calling range, which we were ahead of, we're suddenly behind. And I mean, I think he's a fish, so I don't think he's all of a sudden going to fold a 7 or a 5 or whatever just because a flush is coming. Interesting. Doing the 3-bet with King 5 suited mostly because it's a really small 3-bet. Yeah, I mean, like I noted that he was a short stack reg earlier, and I don't think he's really realised that he's a little bit deeper now. Because while that sizing might be reasonable at 30 big blinds, it isn't really at 60. Just going to fold the turn. It's quite difficult to have many double barrel bluffs on this board, just because there aren't many obvious hands which have equity to bluff with. you really shouldn't be cold calling many small pocket pairs in position. Basically, now games play quite tight and regs are quite good. I mean, this guy isn't good, but many regs are quite good. It's very tough to win enough money when you do hit a set to justify calling pre-flop with hands which need to hit a set to win the pot, basically. Whereas that's kind of different with like pocket sevens up, maybe pocket sixes up, because sometimes like you can call some flop C bets without hitting a set with pocket sevens, on like especially on boards like 8-6-2, but also on some other boards, and therefore you have more ways to win the pot. You have more ways you can profitably play. I'm going to 3-bet ace-10 this time. You can also call, doesn't really matter. Yeah, this guy is definitely a fish, just tagging him. I call blind against blind, so Ranger should be super. Did I call blind against blind, or is he donking the flop? If he's donking the flop, this is an easy fold. If I call blind against blind, it's a call. I'm assuming I call blind against blind, and I'm calling, but folding the turn. 2 fish behind 10-9 suited becomes a pretty standard call. I'm not really sure how I got into this position with Jack 10. Oh, I 3-bet small blind against under the gun, didn't I? Yeah, or small blind against MP, I should say. Okay, right. So this ace is clearly better for our range than his, but I don't think I can make enough hands fold the turn if I donk. So what I'm going to do is check fold the turn. But if the turn checks through, which I expect it to a decent amount of time, I was going to bluff jam the river, because all of a sudden Jack 10 is very low in our range, and it's quite useful for blocking hands like Ace Jack, which might decide to check the turn, or King Jack if it's trappy. Six five deuce is probably a call against this size 3-bet. It's quite small. Can 4-bet sometimes too, and it's folding's probably fine as well. But I think folding's quite tight. I mean, it's probably just about a fold against a normal 3-bet to about $2 or so. Very easy check call on the flop. Don't see any reason to do anything else. And turn is going to be a check call as well. This hand's going to be better to call than hands like 8s and 9s, basically because the fact that it has more than 2 outs to beat our opponent's value range. Like, our opponent's never going to have pocket 8s here, so it has the same amount of immediate showdown value as like pockets as pocket 9s. But it also has additional equity when behind. I'm just going to fold this river. I mean, triple barrels and 3-bet pots are normally quite strong. Without reads, I mean, this is probably a call in theory, but in practice, I think people don't bluff enough. We can just third pot range on a lot of boards after in 3-bet pots in position. We have big range advantages often, and it's very difficult for our opponents to fend often enough given they are out of position. Really nothing going on at the moment. Gonna 3-bet 6-2 suited. It's pretty it's marginal at best to call it, and it plays okay in 3-bet pots. So I think 3-betting is a decent option here. Nothing really to explain about what's going on at the moment. Ace-Ace is kind of marginal call on this flop, but like we are calling pretty wide pre, and so like Ace high, especially with backdoor straight draws and 2 overs, it's a pretty okay hand to call. Squeezing here because Ace Queen really doesn't play well in multi-way pots. And we are very happy to stack 20 big blinds, basically. I think bet check bet is going to be the best line on this board with Ace Jack. See no reason to do anything but stick the rest in on this flop. Of course he's an 8. Not value betting this river for obvious reasons. Idiot. Like this guy is never bluffing for that speed, for that size. Like I can fold aces there quite easily. I can fold 2 pair quite easily. Not running too great today. I mean, I'm running okay. I think I'm probably up a little bit, but considering how soft these games are, I think I'm probably running at about expectation. Oh yeah, this guy's clearly a fish. So, oh yeah, so we're reversing to a min raise basically because of the short stack in a big blind. And we're doing this with our range. Yeah, nearly forgot min raise because of the short stack in the blind. So I'm only going to min raise from the Boston cutoff because short stack, because everyone's going to 3-bet it at a higher frequency against those positions than they would against earlier positions, if they're good, of course, or if they're remotely paying attention to or have any understanding of poker strategy. Very good board for the pre-flop raise of this, especially against a big blind. I'm just going to third pot my range on this board. I'm going to bet the turn and check the turn at some frequency with King Jack here. Probably going to check this time. Not the greatest river. I think this kind of reduces our fold equity because I think he's more likely to check ace-x on this river, and also he's obviously never folding an 8 now. King high has some showdown value here against like 6-5, so I think checking is best. I'm going to bluff this river if he checks with 3s. I'm going to use a smallish size which I could feasibly use with an ace. The curse of enjoying playing poker. It's 10:15 on Friday night. I work full time and I haven't started drinking yet. Tens I kind of want to bet here for value / protection. The King XX board is quite good for me as an opener, despite the fact that cold callers tend to have pretty strong ranges in a lot of spots. And again, despite the fact of a 3-way, I'm just going to stab this river, hoping that nobody feels like calling. I mean, I expect we get called by ace high somewhat often, and I wouldn't expect the full house ever to fold. But I don't think. I think basically we need both players to fold ace high sometimes for bluffing here to be good. Yeah, and I don't think that really says anything about it, considering that's a not ace high. His calling that hand doesn't make bluffing there bad. We're 5-way on the flop, but already calling top. The fact that we're 5-way on the flop means already on the flop. Calling top pair no kicker is quite marginal. I called mostly because of the backdoor flush draw. Obviously, I have to call again after turning a flush draw. River's probably just going to be a check fold. Could have considered check raising all in at some frequency, but like I suspect that. Wow, you cannot double barrel ace 9. Yeah, after being 5-way on the flop, ranges are just too strong. Like the fact that I considered folding ace 5 on the flop should be testament to that. Yeah, I wouldn't normally want to check raise all in on the river there, basically because I think that people only have flushes when they triple barrel there. People tend to value bet really tight on flushing rivers. Like people, even heads up big blind against button, people will bet check sets, which is kind of ridiculous. And I'm going to bet 5s here for value / protection on this flop. Don't need to go too big. 10 ace off is just about a call, big blind against cut off. This guy's already shown he's calling quite wide on lots of spots, so despite the fact this isn't the best board for my range, I am going to c-bet with a gut shot, 2 overs and a backdoor flush draw. And 10-8, I just think checks a showdown on this river. We can value bet blanks, but obviously this isn't a blank, which is basically pretty much as relevant for the fact that it strengthens our range by including some 7s. So all of a sudden, he's going to fold more hands than the fact that I don't think he has that many straights in his range, because I think most gut shots bet the turn. This guy is just way over folding the big blind. I'm going to start opening 100% against his big blind and the small blind. Right, I'm actually going to make a tight fold because of the big blind only having a 15-ish, maybe about 18 big blind stack. He's just going to 3-bet all in far too often for fairly speculative hands being open now. Basically, speculative. It should be obvious, but the main part of the difference of playing against short stackers is that speculative hands play much poorer, and you all of a sudden you want to start cold calling hands which make strong top pairs instead. So like King Jack off becomes much stronger when stacks increase, whereas like 9-8 suited goes down in value it goes up in value as stacks increase. I'm going to 3-bet 5-4 at some frequency here, not this time. I could bluff if I had a read that he was overfolding 4 flush rivers. I could bluff this river. The smallish bet size tends to indicate on the 4 flush river, tends to indicate that he has a weak flush most of the time, but one he still wants to get some value from. I'm raising the flop here basically because I don't expect an ace to ever fold, and I want to get my value now. Plus, like I want to get my value now because it's going to be very hard to value bet a 5 high flush if another spade comes. I'm going to 4-bet queens here because the fact that he's obviously mostly a short stacker means that he's probably 3-betting too much deeper stacks. 420 seems about right. Yeah, blinds are playing way too tight in these games in general, so I'm just going to start opening buttons and small blinds at a really high frequency. People are also folding. Regs are also folding so much to 3-bets. Like regs are just folding way too much everywhere. Against the small blind calling ranges are quite interesting because they tend to mostly be like suited broadways and pocket pairs. Sometimes some offsuit broadways and some suited connectors, but like there is still a lot of boards on which are in really big trouble against an opening range. So like a board like this, despite the fact he has a fair few trips combos, the rest of his range is just in dog shit land. So we can c-bet the third pot out at a really high frequency quite happily. Ace-5 suited is one of the first hands I'd normally pick to 4-bet, but I'm just going to fold this time because I haven't seen this guy 3-bet yet, and people in these games seem really tight. It's a pity. I like spades too. Alright, I'm going to finish this lot of hands and then I'm going to finish this video. I'm probably going to record a third part because I'm recording 5 videos overall for this stead. 3-bet king queen because this guy's a fish and we have a good hand and we're in position so we want more money in the pot. If you can hear that, unfortunately, there's a dog downstairs where I'm living. Okay, so I'm going to finish this part there. Thanks guys, I've been Definite Article. Hope you enjoyed this video.